Hello, Primals. Today I have 6 ways to identify whether or not you are talking to an emotional vampire or an energy vampire. Now, I don't mean this, I mean this spiritually. I don't mean this physically per se. I mean this spiritually in the sense that there are people that are wanting to take what you've got. And I also want to, before I go any further, apologize for any nasally voice. I'm just getting over a sickness, so I'm doing my best, and I still want to bring you guys good content. And I've had a lot of dreams about vampires recently, so this is really what inspired me to actually make this video in the first place. So I wrote down 6 ways to identify whether or not you're talking to an energy vampire. And the first one is after you talk with them on the phone or in person, after the conversation is over, you feel as though you have no idea what the conversation was really about. And you have no idea what the point of the conversation was. And I know this is kind of strange because like sometimes when you're talking to certain people and you ask a very direct question. Now, obviously, I like to ask questions that are very open-ended because I like just getting to genuinely know people in general. But if it's a direct question, like if you're in the workplace and there's a task that is needing to be done or that has gotten done and you're asking about it, or you're just telling the person what's happening and they can't give you a straight answer, they keep going around and around. Now, that's not always a sign of an emotional vampire, but the emotional vampire in that situation would intentionally play dumb. So, like, intentionally dense. They'll be most likely talking about what you've already talked about, but just in different ways. And they'll want you to idealize the conversation itself and not what you're actually talking about. So, number two is you this someone is very nervous and insecure about your peace. So if you're just living your life, let's say you really like playing the piano and you're just really doing your thing and or the keyboard and you have your headphones in, an emotional vampire will not like you doing what you like to do. And this is very similar to a narcissist as well, but I think not I think all narcissists are emotional vampires, but not all emotional vampires are narcissists. That's the way that I think about it sometimes. Sometimes people don't even know that they're being an emotional vampire, especially like people that are codependent or have an anxious attachment as well. But if they're going to be insecure about your peace, then that is a high sign of like they're very insecure about who they are. And so that's not a reflection on you, that's a reflection on them. And that's just something to keep in mind going forward. Number 3 is they don't know how to genuinely enjoy life. Now, this is actually inspired by one of the comments that I received in a video from a couple weeks back. And the comment was about how narcissists genuinely don't know how to enjoy life. And that is completely true. Like joy is completely absent to them, and they do not know how to, because joy is a direct consequence of being in the Lord's presence. That's the way that I think about it. And so obviously a narcissist or an emotional vampire is not going to be welcoming the Lord's presence if they don't know how to genuinely enjoy life. Number 4 is they play up their problems in life while trying to take away your inspiration. So there's just so many examples that come to mind with this one, but this is the person, the friend that you're always there for, but whenever you actually need something, they are somewhere else. They're just somewhere else. And you know what? Like, that's okay. That's not a reflection on you. Again, that's not a reflection on you. And it could be that you are giving yourself away too much to this person. Hence the emotional vampire part. You know, they are looking to suck you dry. They're not looking to they're not looking to give back. A vampire doesn't give back. They only take. Unless you watch Twilight, apparently. So number 5 is their jokes are directed towards your character or any person's character and not at something in general. So when the jokes become very personalized, that's when I see a lot of the like listen to your body when that happens. Like when people are saying like, "Oh, it's just sarcasm." It's like it is, but it isn't, you know, like that joke kind of it like obviously there's a good like there's such things as roasting people, right? Like it's good to have people around you that are helping you keep in check on where you're at and like if you're really wanting to succeed and they really want you to succeed, you know, it's good to have those kinds of people around. But if they are intentionally trying to damage your reputation or just your accomplishments in general because they don't they don't really like that, like they'll make jokes about your achievements really, and it's really not something to be like made fun of about, especially if your achievement is actually something really cool. And they may not understand that, and that's okay. That again, that's them. That is the emotional vampire in them. They're trying to get a reaction out of you. They're trying to, because your emotional response is going to give them the perception that they actually have control over you. Now, this is a very similar thing with narcissists as well, right? So, the very, very careful thing to do in these situations is to listen to your body and feel as though if your integrity is remaining intact or not. And you can jab back a little bit, you know, like have a little playful interaction. But if they get to jab and you don't get a jab, that's that's a no go. That's a no go. Especially if somebody has a very fragile ego and personality, then or no personality at all, then they're likely not going to be even understanding what they're doing. So it's really just not even worth it to get involved in playful jokes like that with them. And then finally, the last one is mixed signals on whether or not you actually have a connection with this person. And so if you're experiencing mixed signals with this person, if they're just hot and cold all the time, like I've seen recently while I've been sick, I've been kind of scavenging, yeah, that's a word, scavenging YouTube and just like watching different channels and things that may not have been to my liking before. And so now that I have the time to really do something different and while I'm just laying in bed, that's what I'm doing, trying to understand more of the internet consciousness as a whole. And one of the I came across, I don't know exactly how, but there was this video where this girl was giving dating advice, and her dating advice was to give mixed signals, and it's like wrong. Why would you do that? You're not helping yourself and you're not helping the other person. Like I'm very big on being upfront and honest. Now, obviously, you have to have some game. Like in the dating market, of course, like you've got to have some game. But to be very like I think a guy can be indifferent, but I don't think a woman can. And I know that can sound like I know I can get some lashback for that, but I really think it's true. I think men can be stoic and indifferent and still really care about a woman and still show it in a way that doesn't like overtly tell her certain things about how he feels, and she'll still be with him. She'll still love him. But if a girl sees that reflected, like if the guy is being way too overly emotional and sending mixed signals, I don't see that ever going anywhere in my experience. Like, not just personally, but like with people that I've known and with women. women that give mixed signals, like, I know you can play hard to get, but like, what kind of guy would want a girl that plays hard to get? And make no mistake, man, if a girl wants you, she will drop everything to be with you on Friday night if you ask her to be there, or if you tell her, like, hey, I'm going to go here at this time, at this place, and you're welcome to join me. And that way you're making it an invitation, right? You're not forcing her into it, but you're offering her a possibility to go on an adventure of some kind. And that is something that I that's worked very well for me in the past, but because I used to be way too, like, I would draw in the emotional vampires and I would give them all my emotions, and I learned that being straightforward and non-confrontational with these emotional vampires was actually they actually fleed. And in the Bible it says that uh it says, what is the verse? It says, resist the devil and he will flee from you, right? So that is something that I've really taken to heart when navigating the dating terrain. And I think this is something that we should be very careful of, just men and women in general, when dating and setting boundaries with emotional vampires, because you have to know when to cut someone off completely. It sucks, right? It can suck because they can be super attractive to you physically. You may have a lot of common interests, but if there's too many red flags, excuse me, at the end of the day, then like you don't want to feel guilty for setting those boundaries. And because if you feel guilty for setting those boundaries, again, you're just attacking your own nervous system. So those are the 6 ways to identify whether or not you're dealing with an emotional vampire. And I hope I gave enough dialogue on how how to navigate the terrain with those energy vampires. I might do a little bit more of a video later on, but I want to all about the setting boundaries with energy vampires. But first, I want to close with a couple of verses from Proverbs 30:12 through 14. And I think this sums up emotional vampires in a nutshell. It says, there is a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet it is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth are as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. So with that being said, I hope this was informative and educational in some way about emotional vampires and how to deal with them. And till next time, may peace be with you.